Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Just Talks. This is the MCU Rewatch. This is our episode 10, I believe.
Yes.
This episode is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. We've trucking through these because we still got a bunch more to go. But we're here in the heart of the MCU, which made people fall in love. My name is Jamal, here with Ramon, as always.
Yes, sir.
Just want to give an overview of Guardians of the Galaxy so we can just talk our shit about it for the most part.
Basically.
Guardians of the Galaxy was directed by James Gunn, who most people know now as one of the best directors in the MCU. He gave us one of the best trilogies. But he also directed some other big movies like The Suicide Squad, and he's also done the recent Superman, and he's working on another one. Mm-hmm. Not many people knew who James Gunn was. He wasn't like a household name just yet when the first Guardians came out. One of his notable projects was Scooby-Doo. I think he did the writing on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
So, the movie is a story about a bunch of misfits and losers, and characters that are from the comic books and that have been in the comic books for a long time, but they weren't really a team that people cared about.
Right.
James Gunn and that whole team did a really good job of making us care about these unknown characters and putting us into this new world.
Yeah, at this point in like the MCU, we're kind of like expected to see like, Captain America, Iron Man, our usual Avengers lineup, and to see, James Gunn enter with like this whole new cast, like a whole new world basically that he just introduced to us. It was refreshing to say the least, and the way it was executed, it could have been done better. I think it was, I guess it was up to Kevin Feige when he chose James Gunn. It was like, he had the vision for it, and it delivered like, like you said, one of the best trilogies the MCU has. So
from just the breaking it down, looking at the whole movie, and you see like the set pieces, and it take us into another world. Like the only time that you see stuff like this is like they kind of, I know this is from the comic books, but in live action it's like you're looking at something that's not Star Wars but has that Star Wars kind of vibe. They brought that into another angle.
Besides like the Guardians franchise, the only time we visited space was like Thor films, when we went to Asgard and all the 9 realms and stuff like that.
Exactly. But the whole like space aspect and trying to connect what we saw in the past movies. So just an overview of the Guardians movie. It starts back, it gives us a flashback from 1988 to show a young Peter Quill, who most people know is Star-Lord, showing him in his first tragedy, because he's a tragic character. I do want to talk about Star-Lord. You see him losing his mother, and he gets abducted and taken into space. And he grows up as a Ravager, and he goes on this mission, which we find out is an Infinity Stone. And then he, in the midst of getting this Power Stone, well, the Power Stone with Infinity Stone, he ends up meeting the rest of the Guardians, Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Drax. It's a pretty much straightforward story. They trying to keep it away from Ronan, who is trying to use it so he can be stronger than Thanos. And I think that's
it's basically just a space race against who can get like the Power Stone first. But at the moment, we don't know what it is. We know that it's some sort of artifact that they need. We're hinted at Infinity Stone, because we do find out later that Ronan is still working under someone, and that someone ends up being Thanos. As you mentioned, this is like the first film that they name dropped Thanos. So I thought that was pretty cool that we got a full blown, Josh Brolin in the CGI mode, giving his, his first take as Thanos, and then
sitting on the chair.
Yeah, exactly. So then we see like, okay, they're all after this Infinity Stone, and then once they realize it's the Power Stone, they're like, oh yeah, nah. We're in this is a whole different type of mission, That's when they actually have to form the Guardians, and to see it bit by bit, ragtag team, like you say, turned into an actual squad. It was pretty cool.
What do you think about this movie from if you can remember your first time watching it to this time, like what was your take on it when you first saw Guardians, if you can remember?
I would definitely say that I wasn't going in excited. You know, because I didn't know much of Guardians besides like, you know, like a Star-Lord. Star-Lord was probably one of the more popular characters. But besides that, you know, prior to this, I wasn't really too big on like a Guardians of the Galaxy type of team. So at first you weren't too excited, but like, you know, now after everything that has transpired since then, it's I'm happy to see, you know, like their origins again. It's you know, the team went through a lot between the second film and the third film. As you know, that third film is like a super tearjerker.
Super, yeah.
So it's tragic. Like to see like, oh, okay, yeah, we going back to the origins of the Guardians. It's like, oh, this is, you know, it's very, you know, nostalgia, I would say. You know, to see them be formed again, little kids, as you would say, in the galaxy, you know, not really earning too much credits as they are now.
Yeah. For me, like when I saw Guardians like years ago, the first time, this wasn't a movie, like you said, similar. It wasn't a movie I was excited for, but at this point, like, we've coming off these other movies and it's just flowing into just the comic.
You're just excited
world.
For more Marvel stuff.
Whatever we can get, you know? So
yeah.
I went into it with like an open mind, and I definitely don't feel like I rushed to the movie theaters to see this movie.
Yeah.
I know that I saw it within like the first couple of days, but it wasn't like a rush. Like now, like when something comes out, like I'm there. Like when Winter Soldier came out, like I was there.
Yeah.
For this, I don't think that I was like in a hurry to see it. But I love Star Wars, so like getting that opportunity to see all these different people they look like aliens from different worlds, and it was amazing to see for me. Like the Nova Corps and seeing them dressed up is almost like seeing a stormtrooper. You know what I mean? So like that was cool for me, and seeing like the space pods and how they're fighting with each other and interacting.
Even like the planet that they're on, Xandar, you can almost compare that to like 42nd Street Manhattan. You know, where it's like all the different, you know, species and races just mixed up into one. And, you know, everyone's just, you know, having, you know, like a normal day. Yeah. You know, there's a busy market. There's, you know, sales going on. There's a lot like regular businesses happening, you know, family and stuff like that. It's cool to see the diversity, you know, that's not on Earth. Like, you know, a whole planet of Xandar, you know. Yeah. And then, like you said, the Nova Corps, like the Galaxy Enforcement Group that they are. I think it was pretty cool. Expansion of the universe like that.
Speaking of the Nova Corps, do you think that we'll ever get Nova in a movie?
I mean, I would hope so. I think we're past the part where it's like, okay, no one knows who this is. You know, Richard Rider is a very, I would say, popular in the modern age of Avengers. And we've already had literally the entire planet of Xandar. You know, I'm sure, you know, Thanos destroyed it on his way to Earth. Like, the backstory is there. You know, the backstory is there. We have everything to present this character, and he's pretty, you know, a good powerhouse in terms of scaling wise. So to have him join the lineup would be cool. A Richard Rider Nova, yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I feel like Nova is a character that I definitely want to see. I became a fan of him from like animated series and stuff like that.
That Spider-Man show.
Yeah, and I know that was very like much like less mature version of the character, but still like seeing his power set and stuff like that would be amazing to see. We're already getting those cosmic beings. Like we had Adam Warlock, we had Captain Marvel. We had Photon. Like so. Right, Photon, yeah. We have all these
binary.
Yeah, we have all these like cosmic beings already. Like, there's no reason that we can't get Nova, especially when you already included or introduced the Nova Corps in the first movie. Like,
the recipe's there. The recipe, they just gotta cook it.
Exactly. It's exactly what you were saying though. Like, Thanos, we're skipping ahead a little bit for movies, but
you know what I mean.
Set it up for
the setup is there.
Exactly. Because the Nova Corps doesn't exist anymore, so he needs something to do.
Someone's got to rally the pack.
Why not? Why not? You know, but I feel like he fits in the. And we'll get there when we get to Thor Ragnarok. But he fits in the category of characters that like they tease, but they haven't shown, almost like a Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are characters that like we can definitely use. You know what I mean? Hopefully it doesn't become like a situation where, but we don't know what they're gonna do in Thor 5, but hopefully it doesn't become like a Hercules situation.
No.
Or a
thank
Scorpion
God.
situation. It took us how many movies to finally get Scorpion that we're gonna get in Spider-Man 2.
I mean, it took a while, but at least they're doing him justice. I feel like they are. You know, based off the trailer, he's at his peak form. So,
want to talk about characters and some of like the biggest characters in this movie.
Yeah.
We can start with Star-Lord because we already talked about him.
Yep.
I think that we don't talk about how much of a tragic story he has. Like, everybody gets mad at him because of what happens in Infinity War.
Yeah.
But we don't really give him like, not the credit, because I don't know if that sounds the right thing to say, but give him the empathy that we should because of him being such a tragic character. With the movie starts off with him losing his mom.
Literally.
And he doesn't have a dad, or he finds out that he does in the next movie, but he doesn't have a dad.
He gets space kidnapped 10 minutes after.
Space kidnapped at 9 years old.
Yeah, literally.
And then he's he's gaining this new group of friends. Like, he feels like an outsider, like a loser, but then he gains this group of friends that we'll find out later on that he starts losing.
Yeah.
But I feel like having what's his name in real life? Chris Pratt. Yeah. Coming off of Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
We were talking about it, how much weight he lost. But he played the perfect role because he kind of carried over that character, but became more of of a leader.
That sarcastic character, it kind of fit well with the type of, persona that Peter Quill is, essentially. So it balanced off well, and then, to put on that muscle, shed the way that he did was, inspirational for sure. Yeah, it was a quick turnaround though.
And we get to see him use some of his like abilities and like his gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, he's still like, he's been doing this stuff for a little bit of time, but you see that he's still a little bit like brand new with some of it. Like, he doesn't know how to use it. Like, you see like later on he's able to fly and stuff like that perfect. Like, I guess maybe he upgraded his gadgets and stuff like that with Rocket.
More money.
Yeah.
As being a Guardian of the Galaxy.
Exactly.
You get to upgrade the tech for sure.
But you see him not being able to fly. He's able to just use his jets just to get out of a situation.
Jumps type of things, like propulsion wise.
But his other gadgets, and you see him using like when he catches Gamora with the thing
electric like spinner thing
to trap around her feet or whatever. I thought that was cool. Showing his guns that he has, like his laser guns.
Yeah.
All that stuff is crazy to see, like, for the first time in learning this new character. He's like a space cowboy.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, I was surprised they didn't go like the full Star-Lord route, where it's like his guns are like more kind of like elemental. They're kind of more connected to him in more than just like regular gun ways. Like, he kind of channels his, like, obviously they weren't going to go a celestial route, but he does channel his celestial energy into these elemental guns. And he has like many different variations of ammunition that he can use. So I thought it was cool that he just uses them like for like some, if you notice, like some of them are like concussive blasts, or then he switched to like electric in the beginning of the film. Those are cool to see, like, have that variation.
Yeah, you taught me something new. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's again from the game.
I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, no, he definitely has like, he upgrades these weapons with time. He learns how to use them more. He's kind of connected like mentally with them.
Another character we could talk about is Rocket, and we are getting a little bit of his like story. We can see him talking about that he doesn't know what he is. Like, they keep making jokes about him being a raccoon, and he's like, "What is a raccoon?"
Yeah. He has no idea what a raccoon is, because like his planet is just like, they're animals, but he never know what a raccoon is.
And then you see the things on his body, and he's talking about that he got put together and he was experimented on over and over again.
He has like modifications all over.
And it's an interesting story that we're kind of just like, what is he talking about? We actually didn't know that we would eventually see it later on.
Yeah.
But you kind of get that emotion. You feel connected with him like early on, especially as being the most outspoken character. Bradley Cooper did an amazing job doing his voice. I think
you could memorize all his lines in that film.
All of them. Yeah. I think that he was the standout person. I think they all did different things well, and being connected as a group, they all brought something different. But if you take out Bradley Cooper and you take out Chris Pratt, this movie is not the same. Yeah.
No, I agree for sure, because Chris Pratt, again, he was de facto leader of the Guardians. He has to have that, extrovert type of thing. And then, Rocket is like, he's kind of like, he's real gritty. he has no filter. Him and Groot, they were just like duos, partners in crime. So to see, Bradley Cooper execute that type of role, it was fun. It was fun to see him. And then, Rocket himself, he's like he's pretty smart. He's a super genius, I would say. So and he definitely boasts about it a lot,
All the time.
Drax is more like the bottom line one-liners, But he also, Batista, he did really well.
Arguably might be the best wressler.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there's a bunch of other people that you could potentially say. I think that Cody Rhodes is going to be in Street Fighter coming up, so we can see. But as of right now, like the main ones that people talk about is him,
The Rock,
John Cena. Yeah. Those are like the biggest ones. Everybody else is like a cameo of them being themselves.
Yeah, basically. Batista really channeled his inner comedian for that.
Stone Cold had a role in The Longest Yard, but
that's how the white man plays guitar.
Gamora. But I think that when we talk about characters, if we're going to talk about the big three, I think that she's important for us to talk about in this movie as well, because of her connection to the rest of the Marvel universe. Yeah. Because she has that relationship with Thanos. They introduced Nebula. Obviously, she's working for Ronan. I think that her being in the movie and being part of this team, which she's on the team in the comics as well, but her being part of this team and being represented and played by Zoe Saldana, I think that was also, we keep saying perfect, but there's no other way to really say it, because they really did a great job casting it. I can't picture anybody else playing that role.
She had the power for the that fierce womanhood that we needed to see on screen, because besides that we didn't have real woman leadership besides Peggy Carter. And stuff like that. But
Black Widow
was more like assassin type. She would definitely take that secondary role.
In a side character.
Exactly. Gamora was frontline center. She had her own plan from the jump, executed it well, and then slowly realized, you know what? You guys are my friends. Let's take down my dad. And then, that to show that dynamic with Nebula, it's damn, we grew up under the same dad, circumstances were different. We could have been actual real loving sisters. But one path led to another, and now they're just against each other.
Yeah. And that's also another tragic story with them two being together, and seeing their relationship progress. So you already see that they're somewhat at odds, even before them fighting each other later on in the movie, because they do have that scene when they do fight, when Gamora is trying to destroy the thing on the ship so they can fight Ronan. Yeah. But you see, when they're trying to go on their first mission, when she goes and meets Star-Lord for the first time, you see that they have this little back and forth of who can do this job better. Yeah. And that's something that they've already been doing since they were kids, because Thanos had put them to fight each other. Right.
It's cool to see, or not cool, but tragic. But if you compare this dynamic to how Odin raised his two kids, Loki and Thor, they were kind of raised with for the most part love, while Thanos raised his kids with fear, and like, you know, strength and stuff like that. So that's what made them cold-blooded in the end. And like to see the polar opposites, I guess.
And you can see what that fear does to somebody, because for Gamora, it made her want to go against Thanos.
Exactly.
For Nebula, it made her want to try to prove her place even more.
Exactly.
It's like she needed to get this job done.
Yep.
And we'll see that later on when we get to Endgame, because when they go back in the past and you get that new version, and she wants to help. But like Gamora, both times is able to flip. Because that relationship, when she had that tragedy of like losing her family, getting killed in front of her, what she says, and you know the training and stuff that he put them through. Yeah, it's like she doesn't want to be working for him anymore.
She doesn't want that assassin life, and to see, you know, like you said in Endgame, to see that whole story come full circle like that, to see like, okay, what if we put him in the alternate dimension, like, you know, with the what ifs scenario, and it's literally the same outcome. You know, they fighting for that attention, and then Gamora flips because she just can't do it. Can't do it anymore. Ultimately, you realize Thanos is a piece of shit. At
the end of the day.
Basically.
At the end of the day.
If we can do this, you know, go back in time, why don't we just find baby Thanos, you know, and...
First of all, that's horrible.
It's Thanos.
But speaking of Thanos, being that we're talking about Gamora and why I use her last, connections to the bigger picture of the rest of the MCU, being that we're talking about the Infinity Saga.
Yep.
You see, they talk about Ronan and the Infinity Stone, and Thanos has a bigger presence in this movie. He has lines in this movie because he doesn't really have any lines in anything else. Yep. You see... we get an explanation of what the Power Stone is, and they explain the Infinity Stones, which they said that James Gunn came up with in like 10 minutes. I don't know how much I really believe that, but they kind of said that that's what happened. Yeah, that he was just sitting around and they were like, we need to explain the Infinity Stones in this movie, and he came up with it, which, in my opinion, thinking about it, I kind of wish that this movie came before Thor. We don't know why they didn't, you know, because this movie came out so many years ago. Because we talked about it, like with Thor, they didn't really explain what the ether was. Like, you had no idea. And the same thing with some of the other like Infinity Stones. I think this movie should have came a little bit earlier. Because then when it builds up the rest of the movies that come in this leading up to Infinity War, it's like we already know what they are. Yeah. And then we could feel it just a little bit more as to why Thanos is coming to try to get these things. Like, I mean, we know it because they explain it in this movie specifically, but it explains the other ones and how they connect with each other. Because we've already seen the Tesseract and the Mind Stone. So
I think in Thor, like, I guess they were, since it is like third, fourth film or whatever, I think they were just too soon. They didn't want to give us that much just yet, because I feel like if they explained all of that and showed the Celestial using the Power Stone and all that, was, you know, little diagrams that the Collector was using. If they explained that in full, they would, I think the anticipation for how big, you know, the scaling is would have been, you know, too soon. They have to go through like 40-second Manhattan. They got to go through Loki. They got to go through pretty much all these Thor part 2. You know, they got to go through all of these things just to realize, okay, maybe there is a bigger picture. Maybe there's someone that's after these things, and we got to figure that out. And then along comes James Gunn with his ragtag Guardians, and then he, like you said, explains it perfectly in a matter of like 2 minutes of what the Infinity Stones are and like how important they really, you know,
because they created the whole, they were part of like that Big Bang when when the start of the universe happened. Yeah. It was cool seeing like them introduce Celestial so early, like you were saying. Because when they talk about like nowhere and you see like them fly into the Celestial brain or the head or whatever. Yeah. You can see that, and it's just cool to see that they're setting that stuff up, because we're going to find out more about what Celestials are when we get to Guardians 2, and then later on they'll talk about a little bit more when we get to Eternals.
It's
another horrible movie, but
yeah, it's funny how they name drop the planet, the head nowhere, like the Celestial himself, nowhere, because in the comics, it is that same Celestial that gets his head chopped off by Null, which is the King in Black, King of the Symbiotes. I wonder if like James Gunn was like really going way, way, way deep with it and just like dropping that one little egg in there for us in hopes of like, someday eventually we'll have symbiotes in MCU and they can use that same storyline. We can use like, okay, how did even Nowhere get there? This is, the King in Black literally severed his head and put it there.
That'd be cool if we got Null in a future movie.
Yo.
I feel like they have to.
I mean, we got him in Venom 3, but like him sitting there, we see him send like the Clintar, whatever, alien race.
Actually, I don't know what Sony's gonna do, but we might not be able to get it because of the way that their contracts are. I know they're supposed to be working on it, but the way the contracts are, like they can't use. If it's been used here, it can't be used again. So that could either be really good for us or really bad.
I mean, depending on where they want to go with the Venom route, I think it would be really smart if they, tap back in with that whole Null situation.
Yeah.
They had an actor for him and everything, so.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, kind of wasted just a little bit. Whatever.
Hopes and dreams.
Whatever. Yeah, going back to like the Infinity Stones and some of like the other connections into the movie, seeing Thanos and knowing like the plan of what we not knowing the plan. We don't know the plan as of yet. I mean, if you know the comic books, you do know the plan. If they're gonna tell it that way, because it's not told exactly the same way in the movies. But like we were talking about, learning the Infinity Stones and what they're able to do and seeing that for the first time. And it kind of hints towards what the future is gonna be and learning about Ego, even though we don't know about Ego just yet. But seeing Quill hold and grab onto the Power Stone for the first time. Yeah. And there's 2 scenes in this movie when Quill probably should have died, but he did. When he flew into space and he gave Gamora his helmet, which I think the helmet is also really cool that they
oxygen and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even towards the end of this movie when they showed Denarian Day, something like that. He shows him like all his, half Terran, 50% ancient. They don't even know what it is. So even at the end of the first film, they already, hints at like, okay, Quill is far beyond human. So that, half explains the reason why he's able to hold on to the Power Stone for so long, for the rest of the Guardians, to come along and share the power. Which it's interesting to me because when you think about it, it's only Gamora, Drax, and Rocket. So he's really carried like 50% of the weight of that whole lineup for that one little scene. So.
Because by themselves, they would have been fried.
No, yeah, they would have been done. They would have been done, for sure. It's just 3 of them. What were they, like 12 before? That tried to hold it or whatever the first time? They all just blew up. And this time it's just 4 of them.
How stupid was that one girl when they went to... that was Nowhere, right? When they went the first time?
That was the collector's room, yeah. She was... she didn't know better. She was, who knows how Collector treated, his, I guess, peasants or maids or whatever there were to him. He kind of kept a lot of people in prison type of things, these stasis chambers. Yeah. But that room, it's funny you mentioned that. That room was just wall-to-wall Easter eggs.
If you slow it down and you go and you look, like you pointed out that there was a dark elf in there.
Dark elf. Even Adam Warlock's egg is in there. Cosmo's in there.
At the post-credit scene, we see Howard the Duck. It's just so much stuff in there.
Yeah, even like a fake Beta Ray Bill was like teased. There was like an orange character. Did you see that one in the beginning? They talk about it in like one of those old videos. It's like an orange face character, red cape. And he kind of like turns around as the Guardians are walking in to the first time that they get into the cave or whatever. That was like it's like a Beta Ray teaser or whatever. He escaped at the explosion or...
Because it was just so much stuff.
A lot. There was a lot going on.
I think the main thing that people just get sidetracked about is like, Cosmo, the Dark Elf.
Yeah.
Adam Warlock's egg.
Yeah, the whole cocoon.
Being that he has that connection, so we're wondering like how they're gonna connect that. Yeah. Which they did a whole like flip with that anyways.
Reverse. Yeah.
Because in the next movie when they show like, because that's the post credit scene as well. It's not even the main part of the movie, but showing him being his egg is right there, and then turned into
Will Poulter.
Which is an odd choice.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if I would have picked
I don't know what type of Adam Warlock they were going for.
I mean, it's James Gunn.
Yeah.
It's James Gunn.
You know, seeing what he does with like serious characters in Suicide Squad, he's gonna do anything at this point with these people.
1000%.
Especially the third installment that came after, Infinity War and Endgame. You know, you gotta. By the way, that's the best form of Groot we have on screen. That like King Groot, like teen,
mad, like
stocky. Yeah, I love that Groot.
Do you think this movie it's not the only movie that's ever done it, but do you think that this movie, the soundtrack, which was like a big thing, and it became a bigger thing with each movie after that?
Yeah.
Because it has the connection with Peter, and that he got the cassette tapes from his mom when he had the Walkman, which is crazy that so many kids that are watching probably don't know what Walkman is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They definitely did not know what a Walkman was, especially that type of cassette player. Hell no. I definitely, James Gunn, that was his like recipe. That was like his film recipe. You notice it on his films, but like that music aspect, it added so much more emotion with each film. Because like you said, it's part of his legacy. The cassette tape through his mom.
Because you almost get the vibe of what the movie is going to be like. Like we said, we didn't have expectations. Like going back to the beginning of the movie, we didn't have expectations when we saw this movie for the first time. And in that first like 20 minutes of the movie, you can see the vibe of what it's going to be throughout the rest of the movie. Because it starts off very serious, in a sad, emotional moment, a little kid losing his mom. He's reaching out for his hand and dies as reaching out for his hand. And then you get 20 years later, jump into the future, and he's sitting there listening to
Jackson
music,
5.
jumping around, kicking these little alien things, like dinosaur-looking things around, trying to get the power stone.
Yeah.
And then he gets pressed, and he's like,
You know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
Who?
Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Yeah.
At that point, he's just like, let's just start fighting. Whatever.
And that just goes with the vibe of what James Gunn then carries on, because, when we're watching superhero movies, you're supposed to not take yourself so serious.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to have those movies that are serious and need to be serious, which Captain America, Winter Soldier, perfect example. Infinity War that has that, but it's also good to have that balance. I think the best movies when we're watching these is the ones that has that perfect balance of like not taking itself so serious and having comedy. Like even like the first Captain America, when they made a joke out of him wearing the suit for the first time and him being the dancing monkey, but that was the perfect amount of like comedy for the movie for something that's so serious. And I think that this was that perfect balance for seeing characters that we don't know.
No, for sure. They definitely, he added a lot of element to each character. They almost had their own like soundtrack kind of thing.
Because when you see the animated like cartoons and stuff like that with the Guardians, you see them be a lot more serious. Like Peter Quill is more serious of a character. Drax is a little bit more of a serious character. Gamora, same thing. Rocket is kind of the same, a little like outspoken person. Like he's almost the same.
Yeah.
But they did such a good job portraying them in a certain way that we want to look at them in this light.
Yeah.
We don't want to look at them as being like serious characters. Whereas all the other characters that we've gotten are kind of similar to what they should be in the comic books.
Right. Yeah, no, he definitely added like a little more sarcasm to this group. This is like the gag Avengers, basically. They just kind of like even when it comes to saving the day, they mess things up and don't win all the time, but they do what they have to do. That's necessary for the good of the people.
What was your favorite fight scene in this movie or action sequence?
Definitely when they invade Ronan's ship. Groot going all crazy with the vines, and they're just yelling and screaming, and he's just like, "You're overkilling!" Like he's overdoing it. Like that whole scene, and then finger throat means murder or stuff like that. Yeah, that's peak Drax right there. So I like that whole scene right there.
Yeah, actually, it's cool watching this movie because with that scene that you're talking about, you can see where he kind of leads up to what they do in the final movie, because in the final movie, everybody talks about that last hallway fight scene and everything that they did, the choreography between all of them working together.
Yeah.
After all this time, you can see them finally being a team. But you get that early like vibe of that now with seeing. It's only 3 of them fighting together: Star-Lord, Drax, and Groot. But seeing them 3 together was like perfect.
Yeah, that was like a hint at that first team meetup right there.
I think the scene that I like, because it was just so much chaos, was the prison break scene.
yeah, no, that was a good one. With the gravity and then
They get that last.
And then they had to just put that plan in motion.
Then he pulls up with he's like, "Got your leg," for no reason. He didn't need nobody's leg.
Yeah, he didn't need that, but he also wanted the guy's eye.
Yeah.
It's like he's almost trying to put somebody together, because in Infinity War he wants
Bucky's arm.
Okay, how much for the arm? Oh, I'll get that arm.
He's gonna make his own Frankenstein or something. He's just gonna make some shit.
It's gonna pop up in the next Guardians 4. Who knows what he's, as the leader now, what he's having them do.
I mean, he might have like his own Mechazoid type of, humanoid robot type of thing at this point.
After being experimented on
Yeah.
himself.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The tech is definitely there, so.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or any hot takes that you have about this movie?
We could definitely talk about more Thanos. We see him sitting on the chair. It's more like, I don't know, at a certain point he just gets aggressive and starts blitzing everybody for these Infinity Stones, because he's kind of sending Ronan. He's like, "Yo, Ronan, stop playing, bring it back." It's definitely not the Thanos that we see that's beating up Hulk left and right. So there wasn't like a sense of urgency. I'd say like my one nitpick of the film, there wasn't a sense of urgency for Thanos himself. He was like, there was no rush to get these stones. We know we wanted it at this point. We know he was already mindset on like the whole 50%. I don't know if Gamora may or may not knew of that plan at this point in time, for the first time meeting Guardians.
They did know, because I think that when we get to Infinity War, Nebula's the one that tells them. Remember when they go to Titan?
Yeah.
And Nebula is the one that explains to them like what his plan would be if he was to get all the stones. So I'm pretty sure that they
Probably grew up like, "Yo, this is what I would do."
Because they explain. I wonder. That's a good question, because I wonder what changed.
What was the shift in urgency?
Yeah.
We need these stones right now.
Because in the movie they explained why he did it, but they didn't explain why he wanted to do it now.
Yeah.
Because he was conquering all the other planets and stuff like that and destroying them. So
even when we get to Ragnarok and he comes after Asgard's destroyed or whatever, and I don't know if there's any artifacts that they took with them, but they kind of just, I guess, run into him on the way to Earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something changed. Something snapped. And it made Josh Brolin very angry.
Something snapped.
Something snapped.
I mean, that's what I got. That's pretty much the movie. I mean, because it's a straightforward movie, so it's not like we had to go and break the entire movie down. But those are the key things that we pointed out and liked about it.
It's funny how the Guardians of the Galaxy had better idea to leave a Power Stone with the Nova Corps versus Thor leaving it with the Collector. What the fuck?
The last thing that I got for you, do you think that this movie, watching it back, ranks as high in the MCU as people have made it out to be later on? Because that's a big thing that people kind of talk about, it's such a high ranking movie in the MCU. And for me, even though I did enjoy it, it's a fun time. I never saw it that way, but I think that now watching it, I might retract that. It's definitely somewhere in that top 10 somewhere.
Top 10, because there's, arguably 20-something movies in this whole up until Endgame. The importance of this film is definitely up there. We see the events of why he has to go through the lengths that he needs to go through to get these stones. Mm-hmm. Without Guardians, we wouldn't have known, the lineage with Gamora. We wouldn't have known Power Stone. We wouldn't have known Celestials, their impact. We wouldn't have known pretty much anything that's otherworldly, off Earth, I should say. So it's definitely, important-wise, definitely top 10, for sure.
Do you have any questions for us like you normally do?
So when y'all say top 10, is that up until now, or is that just like from your knowledge overall?
Knowledge overall. Like all of them. I think it fits in that top 10.
Even if it's...
I have to actually sit there and look at them to like give an actual response, but it's top 10, top 15. Because we're talking about what, like 30-something movies. So it's definitely in that top 10, top 15.
Absolutely.
Who's your favorite Guardian?
Ooh, good question.
Groot.
Groot's your favorite?
I'm a Groot guy because he's simple. He's kind of just straightforward, funny in his own way. I like that he's a plant.
I think Rocket is probably my favorite Guardian.
Definitely my second choice for sure.
Yeah, Rocket's my favorite Guardian because he just says what he wants, knows that he's the smartest.
He's the gangster of the crew.
Yeah. Everybody, like, you have no choice but to respect him. Like, he commands his respect.
He is second in command, really,
Exactly.
or the actual captain of the Guardians.
Yeah, because he's the one. I mean, yes.
In part Star-Lord, 2, they say he is the captain, but Star-Lord is like the leader.
Yeah, because he's the one that kind of comes up with the plan because he's the one making the
exactly. He's the heart. I would say Star-Lord is the heart of the team.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and he becomes the leader once the ending of part 3, anyways. So
exactly.
So that's my last question.
Yeah.
What Guardian surprised you the most, like as far as like their abilities, skills, levels?
We're probably gonna have the same answer.
For this film wise, or like overall? I guess for this film, what Guardian surprised me the most?
It would probably be, in my opinion, it'd probably be Groot.
Probably the same, honestly.
Because we don't really know, like we said from the beginning, like this was a movie or characters that we weren't familiar with. Yeah. We didn't know any of their abilities. Mm. So seeing some of the things that Groot was able to do throughout the movie, like he was able to change like the parts of like his body to do different things. So like there was a part when Drax was about to die, and he changed his finger to be like sharp so it could stick through his chest. To help
it was like a syringe with an airway.
Yeah, to help him breathe again.
The fact that he knows that knowledge, I think the idea that his vocabulary is based off 3 words is genius. Because we know it leaves so much mystery to the character. Every time you talk to him, it's I am Groot. So it's like you don't know unless you're Star-Lord, or eventually you learn his language. The most of it, for the audience wise, off screen wise, obviously, it's a mystery. It's a total mystery to us. So then to see him like use his powers, like you said, the change his shape in multiple variations. He has
a shield,
attack and defense 100.
He made a whole thing around him.
A shield around people. He spawned like little pollen lights to illuminate the darkness. And then also we learned he's almost immortal, kind of say, in a sense.
He came back to life.
He literally just got rebirthed at the end of the film, so I thought that was cheat code.
Regenerated
Yeah,
himself.
shout out Groot.
I am Groot. We are Groot.
We are Groot.
But thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. Next week will be one of, in my opinion, the most important movie in the MCU. Which would be Age of Ultron, because it ties so much more into the rest of the MCU. So
we literally get like that whole expansion of Infinity Stones with that Thor vision. That adds so much. That like split second scene adds so much lore to the MCU. It's insane.
And some of the stuff that Ultron says, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Next episode. Tune in on that one.
Thank you guys for watching. Peace until next time.
Yes, Ersky.
You should have said, I am Groot.
Oh yeah, never forget, we are Groot.